What in the world is happening in the Nashville real estate market currently? Well, the July 2021 numbers are out, so we are diving into the very latest about what you need to know if you're thinking about getting into the Nashville real estate market. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin Martin and I am a local Nashville real estate agent, and I specialize in helping out-of-staters relocate to the Middle Tennessee area. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, thank you so much. Please feel free to click subscribe down below so that you are notified anytime I release new video content. So today we are talking about the very latest and what's happening in the Nashville real estate market. So if you have watched any of my previous Nashville market real estate updates, you know that our market has been hot. Chances are you have probably even read news reports just about how hot the Nashville real estate market is, but what is actually happening currently? So, like I said, the July 2021 numbers have just come out, so we're taking a look and seeing what is happening. So, like I said, the market has been really hot for the last several months. Basically since May of 2020, we have seen a gradual increase in the demand of out-of-staters relocating here. Now that demand has driven up home prices, and we saw a steady increase from May of 2020 all the way through February of 2021. Then when March hit, we kind of took off at lightning speed. And when I'm saying that, I basically mean that in February, I could get a client a house for $10,000 or $15,000 over asking price. And by the middle of March, home prices had kind of gone out of control. You know, we're talking 100 grand plus over asking. And so from March through June, we saw this really strong market. And then July hit, and a lot of us started to feel a little bit of a shift. And then the July numbers came out, and that only reconfirmed the shift that we were seeing. So when the July numbers came out, July of 2021, for home sales, we are actually down 8% from home sales in July of 2020. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the numbers from July of 2021. So if you actually look at the home sales for July of 2021 versus July of 2020, home sales were actually down 8%. They were down. Now, compare that to our June number. So in June of 2021, home sales were actually up 24% from June of 2020. So that kind of shows you that yes, we did have this really strong push leading into the summer, and then inevitably in July, we did see a slight slowdown in the number of homes closed. Now, a lot of us started to feel a little bit of a slowdown. We did start to see some homes that were sitting just a tad longer than what they would have, say, a month or two prior. So that was an indicator. Also, some of our industry professionals were starting to see their schedules not quite as booked. Now, if you are thinking, okay, well, does this mean Nashville is headed in a downward turn? It does not. Actually, everything that we are starting to see from August of 2020 so far, it actually looks like we are heading towards our second wind, similar to what we saw in the spring. So these are just things to keep in mind if you are thinking about moving to the Nashville area. Also, let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers for what the average home sales price was in Brentwood, Franklin, and Nolensville in July of 2021. In Franklin in July of 2021, the average home sale price was $769,709. Now that is going to be up 25% from the average home sale price in July of 2020. Now let's take a look at Brentwood. In Brentwood, the average home sale price in July of 2021 was $972,707. Now that was actually an increase of 25.6% over the average sales price in July of 2020. And lastly, let's take a look at Nolensville. The average home sale price in Nolensville in July of 2021 was $573,447. Now that's actually only an increase of 7.8% in home sale price from July of 2020. So these are all things to keep in mind. Now again, when it says that average home sale price, That does not mean that you cannot get homes above that price or below that price range. It's just that was the average of all the homes in Franklin, in Brentwood, and in Nolensville that closed in July of this year. Another thing to note, so because we continue to see low supply and this high demand, it's actually calling for a bigger push on new construction, which is actually something that I'm going to be diving into later this month in another video topic, talking about new construction, what to expect if you want to go the new construction route, how are builders handling lumber, how are builders handling the demand. We're going to be talking about all of it in a video coming up later this month, so be sure to stay tuned to check it out. Now, another thing that I want to talk about, because this is a question that continues to be asked, so it's worth addressing. Are we in a housing bubble? The short answer is going to be no, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons why it's actually not the same as what we saw more than a decade ago. All right, so reason number 1 is going to be housing supply. So more than a decade ago, when we were in a housing bubble, we actually had too many homes on the market, whereas today we actually don't have enough homes on the market. As you've heard me say so many times, I probably sound like a broken record, but we don't have enough housing inventory to meet the demand, whereas it was the opposite more than a decade ago. So if you're actually looking at a real estate market, when you hear the buyer's market, the seller's market, a balanced market, what does that mean? It's talking about the length of time, the average length of time inventory is on the market. So anything less than 6 months is going to be a seller's market. When you're sitting in that 6 to 7 month range, you're in a balanced market. But when you're 7 months and above, you're in a buyer's market. So that means if it's taking your house 7 months or more to sell, you're sitting in a buyer's market. If you're in that 6 to 7 month range, it's a balanced market where there's benefits to both buyers and sellers. And you're in a seller's market when it is less than 6 months. So what are we dealing with right now in Nashville? Most homes are selling in 10 days or less. We're going really, really fast. Now, the national average, you're sitting at about 1.9 months in terms of inventory, but in Nashville, if the home is priced right, marketed well, shows well, it's going in 10 days or less. Most of the time it's going in a matter of a few days or hours, just depending on what rules the listing agent and sellers have set. So reason number 1 as to why we are not in a housing bubble is going to be the fact that we actually don't have enough inventory, whereas back then we had a lot of inventory. All right, so reason number 2 is going to be housing demand. So back when we truly were in a housing bubble more than a decade ago, the housing demand was actually more manufactured with this fear of missing out frenzy than anything else. Like I said, we had plenty of inventory, but people were buying up. Lenders were being really loose with their lending standards, which is just not the case. If you have gone through the pre-approval process these days, you know that you are asked for a lot of information. It can feel slightly invasive, but ultimately that's to protect you and it's to protect the banks because they learned from their mistakes in the past. Now, when we're looking at the housing demand today, the housing demand today is actually real. And so, like I said, back then we had too much inventory. Now we don't have enough to support the demand. So the demand is actually true, not manufactured. And then number 3 is going to be equity. So back then people got upside down in their homes very quickly because any equity that they did have in the home, a lot of people were taking out lines of credit against their homes for things like boats and cars. They were essentially treating their home almost like an ATM machine. So then when it came time to try to sell, a lot of them ended up upside down because they had the credit line on the house. And then, when supply is high and demand is actually low, that means offers can come in below what you want them to. It's a buyer's market. And so a lot of people were ending up upside down. Whereas today, homeowners are more smart with their asset. People are not really using it as lines of credit now. People are actually staying in their homes. They're building that equity. And so even if they need to sell for financial reasons, they're most likely getting a profit in their home because they've built equity over time. So it's just a more smart approach to the housing market. So those are the three main reasons why we're not in a housing bubble. But again, if you have questions about it, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. So again, just to give you a quick little recap, the Nashville market, yes, we did see a slight slow in July, but please, again, do not take this to mean that the real estate market in Nashville is going to take a downward trend. We are actually expected to only continue to appreciate for the next 3 to 4 years. We do actually anticipate being in a very similar market situation, again, for the next 3 to 4 years. We're gonna see what actually happens, but these are what the experts are predicting. And I did mention this in my last video, but it's worth mentioning again. So across the country, most homes, because of the low supply and high demand, are appreciating at about 1% a month. Whereas in Nashville, we're actually sitting closer to that 4% a month appreciation, which again plays into appraisals. And that's a whole other topic for another video when it comes to home appraisals and what we're actually seeing happening right now. But just know the Nashville real estate market, it is still healthy. It is still moving. Things are still trending upwards. So if you have thought about getting into the real estate market here in Nashville, whether it's to move or invest, you know, I always tell people the best time to get into the market was yesterday. The next best time is today. You don't want to sit and wait too long, because as prices continue, as home values continue to appreciate, prices will go up. And so chances are what you would spend 6 months from now versus what you would spend now, you're most likely going to spend more then. So again, it's better to get in sooner rather than later. If you have any questions about the Nashville real estate market or the Franklin real estate market, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My name is Caitlin Martin. I'll see you next time.